Analysis of five porters has clearly communicated a message that when you use the five forces model of the porter, you determine the conditions in the industry. Once a firm has determined the conditions of an industry, now it is the time to take a position. What is the essence of the positioning school? And if you remember, in the introduction part, we discussed that the difference between positioning school and the previous schools is this, that the positioning school focuses on the content of the strategy rather than the process of the strategy. And the content of the strategy actually are the different strategic options. In design and planning school, it was believed that there can be large number, rather infinite number of strategic options a firm can take according to its position. The major contribution which was made by the positioning school through the writings of Michael E. Porter is this, that this school actually provided the limited close-ended strategic options to the firm. And the Michael E. Porter proposed a set of generic strategies which actually are taken as the positions by different firms. Before we move on to the generic strategies of Michael E. Porter, I also believe that, rather I am assuming this fact, that you are already introduced to the generic strategy phenomena of Porter. Here I will be only using it as an introduction of the positioning school. But before I talk about the generic strategies, it is very important to understand, or rather notice one phenomena, that in different industries, whatever different industry you go, you find out there are actually different firms taking different positions. And what are those different positions? You find out either the firms are using cost effectiveness or their low price as their main feature, or they are using some other benefits to differentiate themselves from the other firms. I mean, you cannot find out any third viable proposition by the firms on which they can differentiate themselves. This is actually the observation of the Michael Porter, that in the marketplace there can be only limited options, rather strategic options available to a firm, and a firm can take according to its scope the given option. Now let us move to the understanding of the generic strategies. There are four generic strategies: cost leadership, differentiation, cost focus, and differentiation focus. There are actually only two, the cost and differentiation, but there are two versions of the each. The one is cost, broadly cost focus, and then the narrowly cost focus, and then the differentiation at broader level, and then the focus differentiation. Now let us discuss each generic strategy one by one. The first is the cost leadership. The Porter's observation was that the firms can either take the position as a cost leader, or they can take a position as differentiators. I mean, as a cost leader, cost leadership is also a way to differentiate, but this is the differentiation on the cost part, on the pricing aspect. The firm, if decides a benefit or incentive in the cost leadership, it designs its everything accordingly. But if a firm thinks that in the area of cost leadership there is already rush and there is already cutthroat competition, then they decide to use the differentiation as their strategy to be different from their competitors. Always remember that the cost leadership strategy can be very risky strategy, in the sense that this is area or a segment in which ultimately only one player survives, and that is the cost leader. There is no survival for any other player in this segment, because ultimately when you compete on prices and the cost, there comes a point below which you cannot survive, and most of the firms do not survive, and many of them simply go out of the market. If you remember that currently in our country we can witness the price competition among the banks and the price competition among the telecommunication firms. What is the end of the game? You find out that in the last 5 years, there are a number of banks shutting down their operations, either merging with other banks or being taken over by other banks. And in the telecommunication industry, you see that already the two players have been taken over by their counterparts, and there can be another bad news in the market for the telecommunication companies. This is actually the problem with the cost leadership. Though when you enter into this particular segment, the survival is only with the leader and others don't have any survival. So it's a highly risky strategy. This is the one position a firm can take as the cost leader. The second is differentiation, which is the second position. You can decide not to be in the price war, not to be competing on the basis of your cost, rather on the basis of your features, your superior quality, or the benefits you can offer. So this is actually also not a very easy domain to operate. It's not a very easy domain to be successful. Actually, when you decide to offer more features, it increases your cost. And if equally you do not get the response from the customer and from the market, and also what you offer as a feature is imitated, is copied by your competitors, so believe you me that there is no way you will find out to survive in the market. It's not also a very safe strategy, but it is relatively, it's costly, but relatively less risky, because on the basis of the features or quality or benefits, you can find out a position in the market as compared to the one based on the cost. These two are the strategies which are generally used by the national level companies: cost leadership or the differentiation. But what are the options with those who are not the large scale companies, or who are the small companies, or who are not interested to serve the masses? Now let's move to the next generic strategy, which is cost focus. Yes, if you don't want to operate at national level, you can restrict yourself to a particular segment. And in this particular this could be a locality, this could be a limited geographical area, it could be a specific income group, could be a special group of people based on the culture, or any other variable. So you decide to be limited in scope, but again your focus is on the cost. The focus is not different. And the fourth one is the differentiation focus. Here, actually, you might have heard the name of Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Rolls-Royce, and such like companies. So these are companies which do not have a national, or rather open differentiation strategy. These are focused differentiation players who focus on elite segment of different countries, and they produce themselves. So resultantly, we can talk that there are only three positioning options. You become the cost leader, you become a differentiator, or you become a focus player. According to Porter, the fourth one is the stuck in the middle. You do not find out any quotes. So this is the essence of the positioning school, that strategies are close-ended and there are limited generic options in terms of strategy which the firms can take as their positions. I invite you to actually think and try to study the different industries. Maybe footwear industry, you can focus on, for example, I take before you the case of mattress industry in Pakistan. There are a number of players, but there are big threes. There is Master Multiform, there is Diamond Supreme Form, and there is Al Khair 5-star. There are also other mattress manufacturing companies, but these are the big three players. If you analyze their products, you find out that the Master and Diamond, they are differentiators, whereas the Al Khair 5-star is try to operate in the domain of cost leadership, and it tries to differentiate itself from other players based on its lower prices. Same is the case in the footwear industry. Same is the case with any other industry. You would find out companies only falling into two domains are the differentiator or the cost leaders taking resultantly two positions. And this is actually the essence of the positioning school. Thank you very much.